Hey, how's it going? So for this module, we'll be covering distance and midpoint between 2 points in a three-dimensional space. So what you've seen traditionally is a coordinate point, x, y, right? First number is x, the second number is y. Now what we're going to be looking at are three numbers, and the third number is going to tell you the distance or the height above or below the xy plane. So if we look at the xy plane like in a two-dimensional space, how we traditionally saw it, right? We go left 4, up 3 for the red point, J. And then for the blue point P, we go to the right 6, down 5, right? Now that Z is telling you above or below that. So if I turn this plane and make it kind of flat, where it's like X here and then Y kind of goes straight back where you can't see it really, you can see that the blue dot is, or the blue point is above the XY plane because it's 2 units above it, while the red dot, which is J, is 1 below it. All right, so now instead of just seeing X, Y, we're going to be seeing X, Y, and the Z. So now what we're going to be doing with that? First, we're going to be finding the distance. So if you go back to Algebra 1, the way we found the distance was you take x1 minus x2 squared plus y1 minus y2 squared, and you take the square root of all of that, right? So it's the exact same formula for three-dimensional space. It's just now you're going to add the z. So z1 minus z2 squared. Now, it doesn't really matter if you took the first x minus the second x, so -4 minus 6 and get -10, or if you took 6 minus a -4 and got a +10. The reason that's the case is because when you square it, it's going to be positive anyway. Just make sure you put the parentheses, because if you don't, that -10 squared is going to show a -100 compared to 100. All right. So it doesn't matter if it's x1 minus x2 or x2 minus x1, as long as you mathematically do it correct, it's going to give you the same result, which is square root of 173, which is equal to 13.153. Now, when it comes to square root of 173, I need you to be able to get here without the calculator, all right? Because it's going to be a non-calculator portion. So this is probably, if they get asked a question, it's going to be on a non-calculator portion. Now, the other thing that we're going to be doing in a three-dimensional space is going to be finding the midpoint. And once again, just similar to Algebra 1, when we found the midpoint, we added the x's divided by 2, added the y's divided by 2. Now you're just going to add the z's and divide by 2. All right? And once you do that, you should be able to get 1, -1, 0.5. All right? So if you look here, it should be 1, -1, that's the x and that's the y. And then if you look, is it going to be above or below that xy plane? It's going to be above it by 0.5. All right? That's the z. And this is our midpoint. Now, it's not going to always just give you 2 endpoints and say find the midpoint. They could give you a question like this. The coordinates of the point K, given that P is the midpoint of JK. So what this is telling me is these are no longer my endpoints. My endpoints are J and K. P is now my midpoint. But I'm given the endpoint and the midpoint, and I'm looking for the other endpoint. So let's talk through it, all right? So if I know that J is my endpoint, right? So let's look at the x's first. So one of my endpoints is -4 for the x. I know my midpoint is 6 for the x. So what do I know? I know that when I add -4 plus whatever the x value of the other midpoint is, and I divide it by 2, is going to give me 6. So it's going to look like this. So I know -4 plus whatever the other x is divided by 2 is going to give me 6 because this is my midpoint. And once I solve for that, I should get 16. So that means the x value of my other endpoint is 16. And you would do the same thing for y. So 3 plus something divided by 2 got to give you -5. And you would solve. And then -1 plus something divided by 2 equals 2. And you would solve and you would get 5. All right, so then we know that the endpoint K is 16, -13, 5. You can always double check by saying what's 16 plus -4, 12, divided by 2, 6, and so forth for the Y and the Z. And I know when you start practicing, you'll be able to do this in your head. I don't need you to do it in your head. I need you to show all your work, because you're going to be given points based off of your work and your answers. So I need all the points that we can get, all right? So please, please, please show all your work for all problems. And just like that, it's time to practice. If you have questions, concerns, feel free to let me know.